Hi everyone, so I'm back with my beginners painterly loose fun series. I have got my Cotman palette. For the eagle-eyed of you, you will notice that some of the colours have been replaced. So I have checked the link that I provide to the one on Amazon, and I have added some of the colours that I have lost over the years. This palette is ancient, so I have replaced some of the colours, so my colours are pretty much the same now, bar Payne's Grey, which I haven't got, to the palette that is available on Amazon via the link in the description. I've got a little bit of Saunders Waterford. It's cotton paper, about 7 by 5 inches. For this you could use any sort of wood pulp paper as well. So today we're going to do a little bit of a mountain cum meadow scene, and it's going to be lots of nice loose and painterly marks again. So I am popping some water on with a round number 10. This series so far has been immensely popular. There's only 2 in there. This is going to be the 3rd, and I think I will be carrying on because it is just doing really well. And it's quite fun to do. The first one was very stressful, but now it's just quite relaxed and fun. So I'm wetting the whole of the paper with my round number 10. I'm also going to be using a round number 6 and a rigger today, so they're good and ready for me. Okay, so I will talk you through the colours as I go. So I'm dipping a loaded water brush into cadmium yellow, so that's my first colour. I'm going to come through and we're going to get a really nice base onto this now. The great thing about this is there really isn't any pressure because it is so loose and painterly. It's lovely. I'm going to use a little bit of, this is cadmium red hue. I'm just going to take a little bit of that up in, so I'm going to gain a little bit of warmth up here. I'm going to come into some permanent rose. This hasn't set yet, so this has come out of a tube into a redundant pan holder. So it will eventually set and become part of the pan set. Permanent rose is one of my go-to favourite colours. If you watch a lot of my videos, you will know that I like permanent rose. I'm bringing that in. Some nice strokes across. I'm going to get a really nice base of different colours. This is a little bit of cerulean blue. So this now is coming through. Rinse my brush out. And then I'm coming into lemon yellow. So I really want to vary the yellow from the sky and give this much more vibrancy at the bottom. Remember, this is just a base. We're going to work into it with lots of painterly loose strokes. So I'm just blending through the cerulean blue. I'm going to pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue. Just bring that within here as well. This here is alizarin crimson. I just want to pick a little bit of that up. Just darken here. Then I have got a 5p piece and some tissue, basically something small and round. And I'm putting that around the 5p piece. And I'm going to just dab that on, hold it on. You can sort of give it a twist, it doesn't move, and then you will get a sun appear. Okay, so I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's lovely and dry now. So the rules are, there are no rules. I'm just going to keep going on with lots of loose wet paint. So what I do say is I try to keep to similar colours, especially in the sky. So this is a little bit of the cadmium yellow going back in, and I want lots of loose strokes. So I'm just going to take a few horizontal strokes. In fact, I might just take a little bit through the sun, because that would work really lovely. That same sort of similar tone tends to work quite nicely. I'm going to take a little bit of the cadmium orange in, not orange, cadmium red. It's quite going to make quite an orange here anyway. And then a little bit more within there. So you've got bits that are dry, bits that are working within the wet watercolour as well. I'm going to take a little bit of the alizarin crimson just up at the top as well. Getting a really nice blend here. Just rinse that brush off. I'm going to pick up a little bit more alizarin crimson. I just don't want it to be red. I don't want any of that cadmium red in. I'm just going to blend this through a little bit just towards the bottom here. So that's got a nice painterly effect happening in the sky. I'm going to come back down towards the bottom area now. So this is the lemon yellow. We're going to start to bring a little bit more of that in. Just dabbing across, stroking across, just thinking sort of a meadow, a bit of a hill coming down from mountains basically. With that yellow still on the brush, I'm going to dip into the cerulean blue and then just start to blend a little bit of that through. I want to leave little dashes of dry. So I don't want to keep going over and over this, because then I'm going to pick up the paint from underneath, and I'm also then going to not have those little dry patches. Those little dry patches are what work wonderfully. I'm just going to start to put a little bit of a hillside in there as well. Again, leaving gaps, dry patches. If I come down to a number 6 now, I'm going to pick up some of this Viridian and take it into this, what looks like an orange bit that I've not cleaned. So I've got that nice Viridian. Then I'm going to take some burnt umber into it. Basically want a nice dark green. I'm going to pop some strong trees in here. Remember, this is all fun and experimental. So we're going to have just, it's like vertical dabbing, but you do wider at the bottom. We're going to start to get a few conifer trees in. Going to have some in the distance here. Remember, those odd dry patches, you're going to leave them. This is what's making all this work. I'll have a few here. A bit of a bigger one here. I'm going to rinse my brush off, dip into some ultramarine blue. Just dab some of that through. Especially this foreground one. I want that to stand out a little bit more. You can also take, so I have now got a little bit of ivory black. I don't tend to use a lot of black. So I tend to find it's a little bit too strong, but then what I will do is I'll warm it up with something. So I'll take a little bit of the alizarin in as well. This is probably why it survived in my previous palette, but obviously I'm recommending this palette to you guys, so I want to have the same colours to show you. So I just warm it up a little bit. Black can zap the colour. So I've just warmed it up with a little bit of a dab of alizarin crimson in there. You can always take another dab of the alizarin crimson in. Basically, I'm getting a nice foreground edge here. I might take a little bit into this one down here. Okay, so I've rinsed that brush off. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of the rose, and I'm going to start to bring in some distant mountains. So we're going to keep them similar colour to the sky. So this is going to be the top of the first distant mountain. So sort of following the line of the land, bringing it down. It's really nice because tonally it's very similar to that in the sky. Just going to soften that in just there with a dab of water. Right, I'm going to dry this off, but actually before I dry off, I would quite like a few dabs. So I've just dabbed into the rose, a few dabs of maybe flowers. So I'm gonna just take a few flowers in here. I like that I can just make these up and it's really fun. Ooh, there's a rose. And I hope you enjoy them as well. They seem very popular. If you go too far, so just dab your brush off so it's nearly dry, and then I just want you to blend. Anything with a nearly dry brush will blend very nicely. If the brush is wet, it'll create a watermark. So you just want to blend. In fact, I'm going to take a little bit more cerulean in there. We'll make it a bit more painterly. And just come through with a little bit of the cerulean blue. It's really fun doing this. Okay, I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. I'm really liking the effect already. I'm going to come in and start to create another layer of distant mountains here. So this one, I'm going to be a little bit more purple. I'm just working down the colours that are here. So if I take a tiny bit of the rose or the alizarin crimson into the cerulean blue, and I'm just going to blend that through on the paper. Blending on the paper gives much more vibrancy than blending in the palette. I've got a video in my techniques playlist that shows you the differences of blending in paper and blending on the palette, and why I prefer blending on the paper. Again, with a wet brush, I'm just going to wet that bit towards the bottom because I'm going to do another one. We're giving it a sense of distance here. Going to do another one there. So with the painterly effect, we like to come in again. So I'm going to come in again. I'm going to get a few more brush strokes. So this is the cadmium red. I'm just going to get a little bit more water. So I'm down to my round number 6 now. I'm going to dip into the rose as well. I want some real nice vibrancy at the top. Remember, those little dry bits will work really nicely. You want them to be there. A combination of hard and soft edges. So this is a little bit of the cadmium yellow going in now. Just random strokes, mixing it up a little bit. I'll pick up a little bit of the rose. Rose or alizarin crimson would work for these. You just want something a little bit with a pinky tone. Just it's fun, you can just play around. I'm going to even pick up a little bit of the cerulean blue. Just blend that through. So I'm just taking an extra little bit of water on there. So that sky's looking lovely now. Right, back into the lemon yellow. We're just going to bold this up a little bit towards the front. So this sort of bottom few centimetres, we're just going to bold that up a little bit with a bit more of the yellow. Nice and vibrant. So then that dark green, so that was the Viridian and the burnt umber. I'm going to come back into that. Just going to build up this tree a little bit more. So I don't want to put the strokes everywhere. In fact, I want to blend a little bit into this yellow. I'd say about 50% of the tree I'm going to come back over so that I get that really nice blend, and it's just giving an extra bit of oomph to these ones just at the front. It's giving a great sense of distance and depth. It's quite hard to do that when you're going bright, so you've got to really think about it, and these extra bits of colour and strokes in this front section give it that depth. Rinse that out, and then I'm going to just touch into the rose again. We'll have a few more flowers appearing. So again, I'm leaving bits of the softness, and some of them I'm taking into the yellow. You can blend some of this through. I'm going to take a little bit more of the yellow in. Just come over some of those sections. So this is a lemon yellow, so it's a tonally different yellow. I'm going to take a dab of the cerulean blue in. I want to try and get a little bit more texture and variety just towards this front section here. So this is why I'm doing a few extra dabs. That's cerulean blue as well, so it's got a really nice feel. It's got a good evening feel now. Okay, I'm just going to dry it off to do this final stage. Okay, so that's nicely dry now, and I want to get an extra mountain in here. So I'm coming darker. Every time I'm coming in, I'm coming darker. And tonally, I'm getting cooler as well. So I've sort of mirrored the tones from the sky, which is the only real rule that I've had with this when I've been doing this painterly, is that wherever the wet in wet wash, I try to mirror some of that through. I'm following the line of the land. I'm leaving odd dry bits, so that's working quite nicely. I'm just going to take a little bit of the burnt umber in, just because I want some areas to be a bit darker. So I'm coming right the way down to the bottom edge of that mountain. So I want that darkness down here. In fact, I'm going to take a tiny bit of that ivory black, Payne's grey. If it looks a bit too black, you'll know when you put it on because it dulls the colour. You want a bit of brown in it, a bit of red in it. Payne's grey is naturally quite blue, so it tends to not be as bad at dulling the colour. But that contrast just sets that distance. You can see you've got that line, and then the depth is there. I'm going to rinse my brush off and just pick into a little bit of the cerulean blue. Just bring a little bit of that through. Just here as well. It's a really, really fun process because there's no way that I would recreate this again, and there's no way that you'll recreate it exactly. But what it's learning you and teaching you really is just to have fun with the paint and to play with all your colours. I mean, you've got the colour combinations here that you've started very warm and that have worked very cool. And that just works to give additional vibrancy. So I'll dry this off and then I'll take the tape off so you can see the final result. So there we go, it's all finished with the tape off. It's really vibrant, really pretty, really fun. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe and share. Comment as well, let me know what other subjects you want to do painterly. I think this is going to be a popular series that stays anyway. I'll pop another playlist here and another link to a video here, and I shall see you next time.